It's been 3 months since I started 3D printing full time. It's working, but that's not been without lots of mistakes and bumps in the road and lessons learned. I want to talk about some of those things and lessons that I've learned, so hopefully we can both learn and grow from those experiences. This is HyBee3D.
Buzz buzz.
Okay, so it's been a minute. And a lot has happened since my last upload. If you're in my Discord, which I encourage you join, the link is in the description, you'll kind of know a lot of these things that have happened already. The good news is, it's working. We're actually making it work. We're paying our bills, we are staying alive, we still are, have our house, and we have this business. But there is an asterisk on that statement of it's working, and I'll get into that in just a little bit. So let's start with the things that are going well and going good with my business today and over the past few months since I last uploaded. One thing that's going good is I'm able to do market events almost every single weekend. Now, I understand that I have an advantage over a lot of people who want to do markets exclusively because I live in a very warm area that stays very pleasant to be outside all year round. And so a lot of people vacation here from around the country, and I'd say most people that vacation in Texas come here either to Corpus Christi or to Rockport, where I do my other markets. And so I definitely have an advantage there, and there's constantly new people coming in. I'm able to sell a lot of the same stuff over again because it's new to those people. Okay, sure, you have these markets near you, you live in a nice weather place. The question comes up, how do you actually find the markets that you're attending? Well, two of the markets, the one that's the first Friday of every month and the one that's the third weekend of every month, those happen every single month and they're consistently my biggest earners. But I have those off weeks, and that's where I have to kind of branch out and find other opportunities to sell that aren't as consistent. So the way that I have found to consistently find events is, number one, networking. Going to talk to other vendors at events and asking them where they are going to be selling over the next couple of months or next couple of weeks is huge. They're usually excited to give referrals, and they can often help get you into events if they're established with other market organizers. Establishing good relationships with other vendors is the absolute best way that I've found to find these events on these off weekends. Another really great way to find events, if you don't know where to even look for vendors to talk to, is by utilizing deep research AI. We have amazing tools that are available for either free or very affordable with ChatGPT, Grok, DeepSeek. All of these AIs have deep research functions, and they can scour the internet for the things that you're looking for. I'll leave an AI prompt template in the description that you can use and basically fill in the blanks of where you're at and what type of events you're looking for, and then paste it into these deep research AIs, and they should be able to help you find some ideas about where to start looking, or they can even give you direct links of where to apply for the events themselves. It's a really amazing tool if you don't know exactly where to start. So now let's get into that asterisk that I talked about just a minute ago. I just crossed my heart. We are not making crazy money. I am not getting rich off of this right now, but we're making enough. That's really all I want. The whole goal of this entire thing, if you go back and watch my very first video where I look sad and defeated in an office because I was sad and defeated sitting in a bland office, I talked about that I just wanted to do something that I love to make enough to spend time with my family. And it's happening. But there was a very difficult transition that I don't think we're quite out of yet. In January, whenever I left my last job because I got completely screwed over and decided to work for myself full time, there was a transition period of cash flow that was really tough. We had to get some help from family for a week or two, and we signed up for DoorDash. I did my regular events, it wasn't enough. My wife and I spent the rest of our time in the car delivering food to people with our baby in the back. My wife is also a photographer, and she was doing, you know, a photo shoot or two every month before, and now she's been taking on a lot more and supplementing, and so that has also been a huge help in this transition period. We are kind of just now starting to get into the clear where we have a bit of, you know, cash flow to work with, and that comes to the cash flow of business growth, or the necessary cash flow for that. Before this was of my full-time gig, this was just a side hustle, and all of the money that I made from 3D printing, I was able to take and funnel it right back into 3D printing. Well, now we have to survive off of this and pay our bills and all, you know, the lovely things you get to pay for as a grown member of society. And so growth hasn't halted, but it has slowed significantly. If you've been part of my Discord for a while, you know that last year I was like constantly taking on new printers, pushing my Patreon, pushing my YouTube, but this year I haven't, because I've just been spending so much time trying to get prepared for events that these other things have kind of fallen to the wayside, which I'll talk about in a little bit. That's a regret that I have, and something I want to fix and continue to improve on, is consistency with the online stuff. It sounds old. I sound old when I say the online stuff. That's one thing I would like to improve on, is my consistency with posting and being in contact with people on Patreon and posting on Patreon and making sure that I spend time on that. Long story short, growth has slowed way down because our cash flow has to go into paying for our house and food. So while I am growing, I have taken on 2 new printers since I started doing this full time, and we've been able to make that investment as we have good events. It's tougher to do so. Where I'm like, you know, can I make it work with my 6 printers, or do I need more? If I spend that much on printers, you know, about $1,000 worth of 2 new printers, how much food is that for my family that I could pay for? But then I remember that I can always fall back to working my booty off door dashing. One important lesson I think from this that I would like you to take away from this is that there's always going to be something that you can do, a step that you can take to get you toward your dream or toward what your ultimate goal is. Just try not to focus. I know this is easier said than done. Try not to focus and dwell on the things that you can't do yet. Take the example of somebody who has 1 printer and they want to do this full time, and say, wow, I cannot make my output large enough to be able to make enough money for this yet. But do you know what you can do? You can print some. You can print what you can print, and then you can sell that. Take that money, buy a new printer, right? And there's little steps that you can take. There's always something you can do to start. You don't have to have a full print farm of 10 plus printers to begin. You just need 1. Or with whatever hobby or side hustle it is, whether it's printing, crocheting, XYZ, blah, 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 just start. If you think you don't have enough for a market, do as much as you possibly can and do a market anyway. Sell it anyway, even if there's not enough. The worst thing that happens is you sell everything. Actually, the worst thing that happens is you sell nothing, which also could be a risk, but is very unlikely if you have a good product. I've said it before, I'll say it again. If you like the things that you're making, someone else is gonna like it. If you would pay for the stuff that you make, someone else will pay for it. So please, start with the steps that you know you can do. I would say my main challenge / mistake and area of improvement up to this point since I started doing this full time is regarding time management. There's this huge double-edged sword that has come into my life and my work ever since switching to this full time, and it's the fact that I have all the time in the world. Before this, I had maybe 2 hours a day to work on this after the baby went to sleep, and that's when I was able to get my printers going and research for events and model and all that stuff, and I had at a maximum 2 hours a day. Now I have all day, every day. And the reason I call that a double-edged sword is because there's a good side to it and a bad side to it. The good side is I am not desperate for time. I don't have the painful urgency and stress of needing to make that time as effective as possible and losing out on time with my family. Like I said, the entire goal of this from the very start, have the printers do most of the work. I go out and sell stuff on the weekends during the whole week. be with my family. That's the ultimate goal. And the good part is about having all the time in the world, I'm able to spend that time with my family. The bad part about that is I have a really bad tendency to say, yeah, I'll get to it. I fire up my printers, make sure they're all printing good stuff, ready to go for the next weekend. And then I just kind of let them run. And the next time I think about it is whenever, that evening when I need to swap prints out, load up new prints. And I don't take the time to do the things that are supplementary to this that are also important. For example, uploading YouTube videos. I really want to do this more, but I'm like, I'll get to it. And then I don't for however many months it's been since I uploaded my last video. Additionally, my Patreon has definitely been neglected since I've been doing this full time, because when I am working, I want it to be something immediate, right? Something that, okay, print it, I have this product, I have this, value of product in front of me, let's go out and sell it. And I want it to, give you the product, you give me the money. But Patreon is much more of, I want to say like a slow burn and a slow commitment, something that I was really committed to before because that's where I really wanted to focus my energy. But because the immediate earner has been markets, I've kind of neglected that. And so that's an area where I definitely want to improve. And I think that's gonna just come with better time management overall, blocking out my day and sticking to that schedule, because even then I still have infinitely more time to spend with my family now than when I was working in highway maintenance and doing this. And so I need to just remember that I have the time, but I still need to utilize it. The feet underneath my fire, the fire underneath my feet has kind of gone down a little bit because I have more time. Also, it's made me relax too much, especially in the last month when things have finally really been working and rolling. There's other things that I need to do that I was doing before that I'm not doing now, but it's a result of having more time, and that's on me. I know I've already talked about a ton of stuff in this video just because I have a lot that I really want to share with you, but I'm going to tell you even more. So I want to talk about a few experiences and anecdotes of things that have happened or I've seen happen in the past few months of doing this business full time. The first story I want to share with you, and a bit of a warning, is the potential consequences of being a poor sport at markets. At my consistently highest earning market, there was an individual who had a 3D printing business, and the way that their style of prints and the stuff that they do is very different than the stuff that I do. And they had been attending this market for a few months before I had entered the game and started selling here as well. And this individual was very upset that I had entered the playing field, and in his mind, I was taking customers away from him, which that's very possible that more people were buying my stuff and less people were buying his stuff. I don't know his numbers. But this individual started to become so upset at this that instead of addressing the situation with me and being like, hey, let's make sure that we establish the things that we're selling so we don't have a ton of overlap, we don't want to steal customers from each other. The approach that was taken by this person was to simply talk bad about my product to the customers that were at this market. And so I had a lot of people asking me really weird questions, lots of customers asking me weird questions like that they would never have known to ask, when people never ask me that at other events. And I found out through the grapevine, I made lots of friends with other vendors, that they had overheard him telling people, hey, if my stuff is too much, you need to go over and talk to HyBee3D because his stuff costs less, but it's also, a worse product. It's cheaper because it's cheaper made. And that's just not true. I take a lot of pride in making really high quality products with, well-tuned machines. I make sure that my stuff is worthy to be sold and that it's tough and durable. And he was talking and saying that my product was cheaper because it was objectively worse. If I were to hear that as a customer, the things I would think is, wow, that sucks that guy sells a cheaper product and you suck because you're being mean, and I would not buy from either of you. And so instead of trying to earn customers back, all that was happening is people were just overall buying less and we were both earning less. So eventually, a number of other vendors who I am friends with and have a business relationship with talked to the event coordinator and they said, hey, this individual is talking crap about HyBee3D constantly all weekend, And ultimately, he ended up being booted from the market and not invited back because he didn't want to play nice. You know, it's a silly way to put it, but it's true. He didn't want to play the game. Rather than bettering himself and improving his own product, he was worried about what someone else was selling and trying to convince other people that rather than my product is very good, like, hey, look how bad that product is compared to mine, right? Which I just think is a really crappy way of thinking about things. And to drive that point further, they brought in another 3D print vendor. A friend of mine, his name is Matt. He has a business called King3D down in Kingsville, Texas. He came into this market as another 3D print vendor, and we already have an established relationship. We're friends. We know that we sell different types of things. And at the end of that weekend, both of us had made more than we ever had at that event, and it was great. We celebrated together because we referred stuff to each other. I said, hey, you want more dragons and, you know, cooler, colorful, you know, shiny stuff? Go to King3D. He's got different stuff than me. And he would send stuff over to me, say, hey, do you want little tiny fidgets or clickers or things like that? Go over to HyBee3D, and we referred people to each other, and it worked, and both of us made a lot of money that weekend. And so the ultimate point I'm trying to get to here is to reiterate what I've said before. Your competition, especially in 3D printing, is your community. If you support each other, you're going to make a lot more overall than by trash talking each other. It's far better, in my opinion, and far healthier to have a mindset of how can I improve myself, my own business, and my own products to increase earnings than to have how can I make more than that guy. We should be worrying about how we can elevate the total earnings rather than just push someone else's down in hopes that mine will go up. We're all trying to make money. You'll gain a lot more by making a friend and having a healthy competitive relationship than you will by making a perceived enemy. And I say perceived enemy because it was pretty one-sided. I just really want to work on myself, right? And I'm not saying I'm a saint, that's just actually how I view it. Two small things that I want to mention at the end of this are other lessons that I've learned. It might sound silly the way that I say it, but a new principle that I'm trying to, practice and implement is sell what sells. There's things that people think of when they think of 3D printing. If you watch some of my earlier videos, I was pretty anti-dragon. I was like, everybody sells dragons. I'm not gonna sell dragons. Well, guess what one of my highest earners is? Dragons. If people are going to buy this stuff anyway, do you understand? Like, 3D printed dragons are out there, dummy 13s, they're out there. People are gonna buy them regardless. So they may as well buy them from you. You get what I mean? They're gonna buy it online because they want it, or they're gonna buy it from you, local made, because they want it. It's gonna be bought. You should be the one to make that money. If you're anti-dragon, anti-dummy 13, anti-flexi fidget, I encourage you to reconsider, especially if you're doing markets. If you have a specialty product, throw that advice out the window. Do manufacture what you make. But if you're trying to just make money by 3D printing toy-ish things and fidgets, just print what sells. I mean, not just, you always want to add new products and be creative and out of the box, try new color schemes, but don't fix what isn't broken. And last but not least, and if there's anything I can beat into your beautiful heads, work hard. Work with what resources you do have. Try with all your might to fight the paralysis by analysis. Don't get stuck thinking. Just do the steps that you know you can do. There are two things that can happen if you just start. You're successful is option number one, or option two, you're not successful, you learn a lesson, you're able to take that and be successful. The principle here is really easy. It's just difficult to start. So just take the steps that you know you can take, and I guarantee that you will find success, whether that is by just instantly being a hit or by learning lessons, accepting them humbly for what they are, and then changing the way you do things. That's all, I think, right now. If you like this type of content, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel. I want to upload more frequently with my experiences of how things are going. I'd also like to upload some projects. I have some reviews for products in the works. And if you want to join our community, join the Discord below. I think that's it.
Buzz, buzz.